Because Tuesday is discount ticket day for all the theaters in my hometown, I wait till then to see the movies that I'm really not looking forward to but want to see just so I can review them. So Tuesday I saw Smurfs: The Lost Village, and I will say this, it's fine for kids. So, Smurfs: The Lost Village is now our third Smurfs movie, but from what I hear, this is more of a reboot because it makes it so that the other two films never existed. I'm not sure because I never saw the other two Smurfs movies. Heard they were terrible. Did not see them. So what is Smurfs: The Lost Village about? Well, it's your basic adventure story. The whole world is set in Smurf world, so you don't have to worry about any live action, any real world content in this movie. And in the Smurf village, all of the Smurfs have their place. They all have their jobs. Their names reference what their abilities are, what they're good at, what their personality is. However, Smurfette doesn't really fit in all that well, and her name doesn't really represent what she is, or her personality, or her skills, just that she's a girl. Also mix in the fact that she's not technically a Smurf because she was created by Gargamel from a lump of clay. And so she feels out of place. She's trying to find her purpose in this society. At some point she discovers something that looks Smurf-like that is beyond their borders in the Forbidden Forest, and so her and a few other Smurfs go to the Forbidden Forest to find if there really is a lost Smurf village. Meanwhile, Gargamel is chasing after them looking for the lost village as well because he wants to use Smurf's magic to boost his own magical abilities. And there we go, that's Smurfs: The Lost Village, your typical adventure fantasy story. To be honest, I don't know if I'm going to have a lot to say about Smurfs: The Lost Village because on one hand, it's not good enough for me to pinpoint all the things that I love about the film and all the things I thought were great, but it's not bad enough to crap all over it. It's just somewhere in the middle. So what did I like about it? Well, the intro was kind of fun, where it shows all the different Smurfs and their jobs and their names and what they do, and that was actually kind of amusing. In that same montage, you find out that Gordon Ramsay has a voice as the Baker Smurf or something like that. I thought the deeper internal story of Smurfette trying to find her way in this society, trying to figure out who she is a really good concept and something that is deeper than you'd expect. And then venturing into the Forbidden Forest with all the different creatures and the different plant life, and some of it was very magical, really vibrant, pretty decent. The animation was simple but colorful, vibrant enough where it caught your attention. And while there isn't a lot of adult humor in this film, there's a few moments here and there where adults will laugh more than kids, and a few kid jokes that I can find adults laughing at as well. It's cute and amusing, and I think kids will find this to be a really good film for the most part. And if you hated the other two Smurf films and hated the fact just because of the live action stuff and see that this movie has no live action at all, this might be the better choice for you and you might find this to be a masterpiece compared to the other two films. I don't know because I didn't see the other two films. Throughout the entirety of the movie, there was very few moments where I felt invested with the story and actually cared about what was happening in the movie. And you can say, oh, well, it's a kid's movie, you're an adult, it's not for you. And yeah, I can see that, but at the same time, there isn't enough for adults to really say, well, that was a really good movie. I think there's just enough about this film where adults can bring their kids will have fun, the adults won't want to blow their brains out or pull out their hair because it's not as bad as other just for kids movies. And that's pretty much what I was like throughout the movie. For the most part, felt like it was just going through the motions, and I didn't really feel invested, but I wasn't feeling bored with the movie at all either. And there was a few moments here and there where I was like, oh, that's actually fairly exciting, or oh, That was actually amusing. I never laughed once in this movie, but at the same time, I did smile a few times. I did feel that some things were clever and amusing. I did find some things cute. And I never felt hate for this film. I never really felt like this is one of the worst films I've ever seen. I think the things that I was most consistently entertained with in this film was Gargamel's cat, Azrael, because he doesn't... There's the light again. I think Gargamel's bumbling idiocy compared to his cat, Azrael, who seems to know what's going on and is more perceptive of everything. I thought there was some chemistry with there and some fairly amusing humor with that. It's done better in plenty of other films, but it was amusing in this film. There's a whole river chase scene that I found entertaining, and the river itself was very magical, and it was like defying gravity. And out of all the Smurfs, the only ones I wasn't annoyed with was Smurfette, who I thought was a good lead for this film, and Clumsy, which, yes, he's loud and annoying at times, almost reminded me of Charlie Day, loud and annoying at times, even though I do like Charlie Day. But, I don't know, he had some amusing parts in this movie as well. Brady was fine too, but Hefty, I don't know, Hefty I was a little bit more annoyed with, mainly due to his voice. Not so much his actions or who he is, but his voice annoyed me a little. And as for bad, there isn't a lot bad I can say about the movie, just like there isn't a lot of good things I can say about the movie, or great things either. If you just whittle down the plot to its plot points, it is your very generic, stereotypical adventure story of characters going on a quest. And there isn't anything unique or different it does in terms of story. And while I do appreciate the more internal conflict with Smurfette, I think this movie handles it in a very messy fashion. Like the whole thing about Smurfette trying to find her purpose in life, that's amazing, while with the whole thing of her old purpose was to lure Smurfs for Gargamel, and I understand how that connects, and I understand that that's important to the climax of the film. At the same time, I thought it handled it in a very clumsy way. Handled it in a way where I didn't really care all that much with the whole backstory with Gargamel and Smurfette, more so than Smurfette's internal conflicts. And I do have to say, whenever this movie tries to be serious and tries to have a little bit more of a darker or tragic tone to it, it really feels out of place. And it's mainly because the rest of the film is so vibrant, so colorful, so kid-friendly, that when it gets to the sad moments, when it gets to the dark moments, when it gets to the scary moments, quite frankly, it feels completely out of left field and feels completely forced and manufactured and done in a very cliched, generic way. And I can definitely see kids finding those serious moments, those sad moments, those scary moments to be effective, but I can see adults looking at those points in the movie and just groaning. Me, I wasn't groaning, but I didn't care at all when it did the serious moments, because it felt like, oh, I know exactly what's going to happen. Yep, that's what happens. That's how they solved it. So I don't know, I think it's a completely fine movie for kids. I'm sure adults will like it too, depending on your taste in Smurfs. Like, I feel if you're really big fans of the old series and love Smurfs, then you might find this enjoyable because it's more of a long 90-minute version of an episode, most likely. I watched some Smurfs episodes as a kid, but I don't remember them too much, because they were a little bit before my time. So if you're an adult that's a big fan of the Smurf series, then you might enjoy this film. If you're an adult with a kid, kids will like it, and you won't feel like you're pulling out your hair or wanting to blow your brains out watching the film. If you hated the other two Smurfs movies and just want the live action to end, then you might find this movie to be a masterpiece compared to the other two films. But if you're not one of the things that I just said, then you might not like this film at all. I just have to mention one thing, and this might sound ridiculous, but it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if there was a group of people that wanted to boycott this movie, because of all the ridiculous reasons that other movies are boycotted, this movie might be boycotted from a few. Yeah, if you're one of those people that doesn't like strong female leads and feel that Hollywood is forcing a feminist propaganda or a feminist agenda on society, then you'll probably feel that for Smurfs the Lost Village. Man, that sounds really ridiculous to say. But when it's a movie where it's a female lead character living among men and they go out and find a whole village of female creatures, then that's what it's gonna... People are gonna boycott this. That's... If that happens, it wouldn't surprise me, but it's just really sad at the same time. It's almost like the ending of the movie really tries to call those people out, because it gets to a point where it's like, wow, there's this one line in the movie. There's this one line in the movie. It feels actually really out of place and feels very forced. It feels like, okay, here's our agenda, you know, and there's it's like, what can Smurfette do or something? And then yeah, there's this. The beginning and the end has this sort of documentary style, which I forgot to mention. I didn't quite like that much, where it's almost like Papa Smurf asks this question and he's like the narrator, but then you almost have this documentary style where all the Smurfs are talking directly to you at the camera as if you're Papa Smurf who did the narration and asked a question and they're answering it. But there's one thing, it's like, what can Smurfette do? Anything she wants. Very cheesy line. And then right after that line we have the whole dance number of all the Smurfs just having fun, but as that's happening, the song that's played, I don't know the song, but it's something like I'm a girl or I'm a lady or something like that, and it just repeats over and over again. So for the group of people that feel that feminism is some agenda being put on by Hollywood or something ridiculous like that, then they're gonna use that as proof, and it's like, hey, there's another instance, Smurfs the Lost Village. Wow. Oh, there is one other little thing that I was really annoyed in this movie. It was a very brief moment, but there's this montage that happens, and it's not the montage per se, it's the choice of song they used for the montage. The most generic, expected song you could think for a Smurfs movie. Was it Blue? I'm Blue? Something? I don't know. I never learned the actual title. I just remember hearing it as a kid a lot because I guess it was popular when it came out. Yeah, they used that song and it was... Really? So I didn't hate this movie, but I didn't like it either, and I feel it's completely fine for kids. I'm just going to give Smurfs the Lost Village 2 stars, because I feel it's going to be one of those movies where it's like, okay, I was fine watching it, but at the same time, I'm not going to remember it. I'm not going to say that it's a great movie. I'm not going to say it's a movie that I like, but it's fine for kids, and it's fine for most people, I'm sure. So, did you see Smurfs the Lost Village? What'd you think about it? Go ahead and comment below. And if you like this video and you want to see more, please subscribe and check out my movie reviews of 2015, 2016, or 2017. As always, this is Bruce Gifford, and this was Just My Opinion.